Hello, Chip. How are you today? So glad you could join us.
Lynette, it's always great to be with you. Anytime I get a chance to talk to you or Dave from ClaimWizard about public adjusting and how we can do our jobs better, as supporting public adjusting, I love those opportunities.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I'm glad that you're here. For anyone that was living under a rock and doesn't know who Mr. Chip Merlin is, Merlin Law Group, they are the premier first-party claims law firm in the United States. Their job is to help policyholders and public adjusters. So we are thrilled to have you and some of your team speaking at the Public Adjuster Business Building Conference coming up in April. So what I wanted to chat with you a little bit today, Chip, was where your relationship starts and how you help public adjusters, because this is a lot of what we're going to be covering in the 3-day workshops, is really tightening and strengthening the bond between public adjusters and law firms so that the end result of helping the policyholder indemnify their property is met.
That's a great question. I think anytime that a public adjuster is faced with a legal situation and it takes an opinion regarding legal issues, and those are facts also getting into legal issues, it's really great to have a relationship with a lawyer or a law firm that a public adjuster might be able to pick up the phone and say, can I knock a few seconds off your time? Can I ask you these questions? I'm not exactly certain what to do. And even ask, even gratis, whether or not it would be appropriate, for the attorney to talk with a potential client, regarding whatever. It could be, should they go to appraisal or file a lawsuit? Any number of issues that might come up with a public adjuster where unfortunately you have to go talk to an attorney, which is usually the last thing anybody, going to see the dentist might be better than seeing an attorney at times. So, but our relationship starts with public adjusters a lot earlier than that with respect to licensing and everything else. And so I field questions from public adjusters all day long. And if I can't answer them, I try to get them even to people that specialize in certain aspects, like the licensing of public adjusting is really a subspecialty. And there are a few attorneys throughout the United States that I can even refer public adjusters to for that. And sometimes they'll call and ask about software and I'll refer them to you, or compliance issues. But it's always good to have a relationship with, attorneys. And I think every single public adjuster should have at least one go-to attorney, if not a number of people that they might be able to speak with.
Excellent. So you and I are obviously on the same page with that. So one of the things that we see at ClaimWizard, because what we do is bigger than software. We do work with and mentor public adjusting companies all over North America as far as their business process goes, because software doesn't fix everything if you don't have good ethics and processes behind the curtain, so to speak. But one thing that we see that I get questions on quite a bit, which is why we decided to do this conference and why we decided to ask like the best law firm in the country regarding this topic to come and help us, is when public adjusters have a claim for a policyholder and they feel that it's stalling out, so one of the questions that I get from them is, when should I reach out to someone? When should I, call my, favorite neighborhood attorney, so to speak, and kind of get them to help me? So you're saying that you really need to build that relationship before you get to that point.
Well, sooner is better than later. I often say that. And if a public adjuster has gone through all the, quivers in their pack, that they've shot with respect to the insurance company and trying to get the adjuster or the claims managers to change their mind, it's sometimes a good idea sooner rather than later to talk about tactics and strategy to advocate properly by the public adjuster and what might be some remedies that are available to the public adjuster. A lot of times I get phone calls and we just go through after 5 or 10 minutes and come up with a strategy. I don't hear anything else later until we might be at a public adjuster conference and somebody wants to buy me a drink because they got, hey, that really worked. It was $1 million deal that we couldn't get them past, and and sometimes unfortunately then it comes back to me again, saying, it looks like we really, what's the best avenue, to get this done? Chip, do they need an attorney to file something? Should it go through an appraisal? Should it go into litigation? Certainly, as you're getting closer to statutes of limitation, you got sooner is much better than later, and making certain that everything's ready to go if you have to file a lawsuit.
And that's a really good point, because this, when you're coming up on those deadlines, is the flip side, the other side of the coin that I hear is that they want to hold on to that claim. I mean, it's a dead horse for them. They can't go any further with the skills and the licensing that they have. And it really does need to go to a law firm like Merlin, but they hold on to it for so long. And then by the time they get it over to you and your team, you're scrambling like crazy. So, talking to them earlier is better, but when they do kind of come up against the 11th hour, what are some of the things that someone on your team would be looking for to help them make a quick decision when they've already put themselves in the corner?
Well, making certain that all the conditions preceding, have been met, that, proofs of loss have been filed, that the insurance company fully knows of the issue, that there's been a denial, that there's not a request for information that haven't been met, making certain that the statute of limitations is not blown already, which is, extraordinarily important. Sometimes people come to us and they say, Florida's a particular statute state. You have 5 years to file a lawsuit. The contract says 1 year and it's got an arbitration clause in it, and the arbitration clause is going to trump, often will trump Florida law, and you're going to be in arbitration, and it applies New York law. That 1 year statute of limitation can be, imposed upon you. So, part of the training, and I'm really happy you're doing this, Lynette, because I know that you have this in your software and you talk about it, in compliance, is making certain that, as a public adjuster from the very beginning of a claim, gets these deadlines down and looks into the insurance policy, and in your software contemplates all these various nuances so that there's not a big mistake later. When somebody comes to us, even if it's late, in the game, to go ahead and start something into arbitration, into litigation, and sometimes, as we get involved with appraisals as well. And again, I want to emphasize this. I know that there are some lawyers and law firms that say, "Hey, if you've got this claim and you're having some trouble, just send it over to us. We'll take it off we'll take it off your hands. Don't worry about it." That is not the way to practice public adjusting. And that is not what other attorneys really should be saying. They're doing it to get business, and really what should be going on, because the best public adjusters don't want to give control of their claim up. At the same time, they want to go somewhere where they can get advice about how to properly handle the claim collegially. And I think the best attorneys, not just my law firm, I know a number of other law firms are the same way, with other lawyers that are very good, that are not pushing people just to go ahead and send us cases because we need the business. And if you want to deal with those types of lawyers, those are the types of results you're going to get, but instead trying to help the public adjuster do their craft, do their trade, practice the art of adjusting with the insurance company and advocating for the policyholder before, the additional cost of an attorney comes into play.
Yeah, I agree with you so strongly on that, Chip. It kind of breaks my heart when I see public adjusters trying to act solely as just, sales representatives to get the claim and to throw it over to a law firm without doing any, actual adjustment work for their clients. So I'm so glad that you said that, because I think that obviously there's such a strong place in the industry. And I always say, I wish there were 20 times, 20x the amount of public adjusters in the industry. And some of them are like, yes, that's great. And some of them are like, no, we don't want the competition. But if they truly do what their license and their education and their experience allows them to, it can be quite a good relationship between a law firm and a public adjuster without schlepping everything over the wall and just handing it to a law firm. So one of the other things that we say very strongly with our software is that we really encourage and train people to treat every single case that they get, or every single claim that they get, as if it was going to litigation. So I did hear you touch upon some of those things about tracking deadlines and being very cognizant of, where those dates are coming up and, roughly where you are in your claims process. So one of the things that I always say is, if you're too early in the claims process, or you're still struggling with going back and forth and trying to, beat that dead horse with getting estimates and proof of losses approved and things like that, you need to know when those deadlines are so that you can actually start to have some conversations with your law partner to get that done. Are there any other gotchas that you kind of see? I mean, when we go to this conference, I invited the brain trust of Merlin, including Chip himself, to kind of talk. So if you're interested in really sitting down and having the best minds that have the best experience in this and just connections all over the place, you want to go to this conference. You want to go to this training because you're going to get this and so much more. I mean, it's just kind of a little teaser so that you can understand what you're getting into. But I'm really curious if there's any other gotchas that you see with public adjusters working with law firms that, you know, a simple conversation, a simple phone call could kind of remedy.
You know, I've often found that the most successful public adjusters and those that are signing up the biggest losses, that are getting the biggest fees, that are doing things that the other public adjusters are scratching their head about, like how come, you know, I can't be that way, is the degree that they'll go to and the attention to detail, and especially of putting themselves in the place of the insurance company adjuster, the claims managers for the insurance company, and trying to use the, frankly, the golden rule about how would I want to be treated, what, you know, what I expect, you know, from a public adjuster, and putting, you know, putting their shoes in their opponent's feet. If you think about the insurance companies being an opponent without treating the insurance company as an opponent, you know, they don't talk down to them. They're very high end in terms of the rhetoric, and don't get me wrong, they're not wallflowers either. They're not pushovers, but they've learned the interpersonal skill set techniques, both in their writing as well as how they deal with the other side, so that they actually establish, I think, you know, some professional respect from the insurance industry and what they do, and it shows, you know, and the results that they get. By the time it comes to me, you know, it already reads, it's much easier for me as an attorney, because that attention to detail from the very beginning and the rhetoric and the professionalism, you know, exudes in a claims file what they're trying to do. So, you know, even if it's a very high end discussion with very complex nuances of insurance policy language with respect to a particular facts of a case with $100 million, you know, at stake, it's very high end. And if they're dealing with $100,000 house fire, and some of the bigger, everybody thinks, oh, they don't do this big claim. Everybody does smaller claims. I get involved in litigating smaller claims, and I love it, you know, because you're taking care of people. And that's really the bottom line of what a lot of us are driven by, is taking care of people. And I think public adjusters are that way too. But you even see it on the smaller claims. And when they're not, they come up to the insurance company adjusters who do not have those interpersonal skill sets, who are not as good as the public adjuster, and they're just treating the policyholder wrong. They're still, when I read their file, it's detailed, they're professional, they're above it, they've done everything they can explain, you know, to the insurance company about you're going down the wrong rabbit hole and your entire attitude is improper. And by the time it comes to me, you know, we're ready to teach the insurance company, you know, a lesson. But many times it's you know, it doesn't go, it's not a one-way street. You'll be surprised. I actually, a number of times the insurance industry's gotten his mind, they're going to treat, insurance adjusters are going to treat a public adjuster a certain way. And especially on the smaller personal lines cases, it comes out that way as well.
Yeah, I mean, even when I talk to PAs, I'm always like, you know what, the guy that you're talking to or the gal that you're talking to from the insurance carrier, they have a boss they need to make happy, and they have a family they need to go home to. They just want to do their job. So if you help them do their job, you know, you're going to get, what do they say, honey's better than vinegar kind of thing. So I'm really kind of glad to hear that. So knowing that, you know, how a public adjuster behaves during the entire process can also help make or break things for you as well. So I'm really glad about this. I want to thank you so much for your time. I know everyone that has signed up already is extremely happy to be able to get not just the ClaimWizard team, but the Merlin, you know, team to kind of instruct them and guide them into, you know, best practices to work with, you know, pre-litigation. We work a lot with, you know, teaching public adjusters how to prep a claim for pre-litigation so their attorneys don't have a heart attack 2 days before, 2 weeks before a deadline, and they're dumping off cases for you and things like that. So I really looked at it as my job of getting the best education in front of public adjusters so that they can find more claims, close more claims half the time, double, the throughput with half the effort. So that's kind of what we're all about. And
Well,
what better to bring them to you?
Well, Lynette, I appreciate all the great things you're saying about me, but the truth is I want to congratulate you and Dave for putting on this conference. The business of public adjusting is extraordinarily important. Public adjusters need to know how to do their business better, how to make more money. And coming to Tampa, Florida in April, what a great time to go do it. If you have the chance to learn how to make additional hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars because of your experience. I mean, I know that your firm has about 500 different client companies, 10,000 different users. You're all over North America now, and you and Dave have been doing this not just for the public adjuster, but for the insurance companies on compliance. Day to day what all public adjusters are facing, what their issues are, what they can do. And you're just crazy if you're a public adjuster and you have a chance to go to learn this at a fun place and how to make more money. Why not? Because you're not going to really learn it anywhere else. So there's a lot of sort of newer classes that are being put on right now by other public adjusters about what they've learned about public adjusting, but there's nobody that's putting on a seminar that deals with as many different public adjusters from small firms to big firms. Yeah. And about how they can grow their law firm, make more money, do it better, have happier clients. And it's about time, that something like this comes out. So I want to applaud you and Dave for doing it. And for any public adjuster who's thinking about coming, I'd sign up right away before it all, fills up.
Yeah, we only have we're doing this small. So it's not going to be like this big, huge thing. We have a cap on this, which, we'll come up to for sure, because we want this to be a small, personal, almost to feel like an in-person mastermind where you can really make those relationships. I think I've never actually asked you this, if this is true, but I have a feeling based on your experience, it might be. I always joke with public adjusters, if you tell me how you run your business, I can tell where in the country you practice, because so many different areas of the United States have different ecosystems of how public adjusters were brought up in the industry. Either they go into one firm, or they come from the carrier side, or they come in a different trade and they come here. But they may be amazing public adjusters, but the business habits and the structure that they learn is not always as strong as it can be. Florida public adjusters adjust and behave much different than Colorado or Texas or New Jersey. So that's why I say, if you tell me how you do your business, I can tell you where you are. But one of the benefits that I'm really proud to have had is because I do work with people. I don't think we have 50 states yet. I know we don't have Alaska. We're probably about 40 states we have public adjusters in. That all of that experience that my team has gained from all over the country, we are using this conference as a vehicle to kind of teach you the best and worst practices as well. So we're really excited to be able to hold that. And we're super excited to be in Tampa, and we're super excited to be working with the Merlin Law Group for this. So Chip, I think you have a code that you can give people that there's
a Merlin, I guess a MLGVIP code that's going to help you get a discount. Can I tell everybody what the discount is on this? No.
Yeah, you could tell.
It's a 20% discount. MLGVIP code that I don't know what else I'm supposed to say about it, Lynette.
That's it.
But MLGVIP, and you'll get in there. And Lynette, I look forward to presenting and working with others and helping teach public adjusters. For all I know, I'm going to learn some business, secrets too, from you. So I really look forward to seeing you and Dave and being at this conference next month.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all you and your team does for the industry, Chip.
God bless you, Lynette. Bye-bye.